just finished working with an owner who came to us. He rented out his home to a gentleman, and he thought the gentleman was a good guy, and they agreed upon the rent. They signed a contract, right? Everything's fine. And then he said, oh yeah, I'll pay you in a couple of days. Let me go ahead and get everything in. They moved in, and they never paid him for anything.
But I think the worst one was where I met somebody that was doing the DIY rental situation, and first of all, they didn't collect funds properly, and the tenant was actually able to stay in the property for 6 months because they didn't know what they were supposed to do legally. And this person was at a hardship, and they almost lost their home.
Thought I knew what I was doing. I then moved out of my side of the duplex. So now I bought another house, and I rented out both sides, and pretty much lost my shirt on it. You know, my tenants were not good tenants. They left in the middle of the night. They stole my appliances. They tore up the property, and you know, it was a mess.
Or just downright people just taking advantage of kind people that want to just help somebody out, and yeah, hey, you know, just come and rent my property. Seems simple enough, but it didn't work out.
And then when things go south, if you're not paying attention, they can either be there much longer than you want them to be there, or when they leave, they do more damage than you ever anticipated.
Just because a guy or gal makes, you know, 3 times the amount of the rent, which is kind of a factor a lot of people use, that's great, but how many bills do they have? You know, do they have a lot of debt? You know, those are things you got to look into.
The appearance and the functionality of all the systems, they have to be top notch. And when that occurs, then you're presenting the property in the best light, and you're going to get the best tenants, and you're going to maximize your return based on that.
What I have found is that generally a bad tenant did not start being a bad tenant when they moved into my property. They've been a bad tenant. I just didn't discover it.
So unless you have a screening process in place to make sure that you're treating everybody fairly and equally, it's some huge obstacles and some potential liabilities.
Well, there's a lot of things you look for. First, you want to pull credit. You know, you want to see what their credit looks like. We pull criminal, civil, national terrorist list, sexual predator, all that stuff's very important. You really want to know the background of the tenant before, when they were renting. You want to look back 5 years and see, were they good tenants? Would you re-rent to them again? You also want to check about their employment, if they're jumping job to job, if they've had gaps of employment, and why. But the most important thing, and this is because I'm ex-mortgage, is the body of credit. And a lot of people don't look at that. A credit report's going to tell us if they've had an eviction. It's not going to tell us if they had a midnight move out and there's a collection. So part of what we look at is the body of credit and figure out, why is there this $3,500 collection from Shady Oaks? And we look further into it, and lo and behold, they weren't evicted. They were close to being evicted, but they did a midnight move out and they left $3,800 in losses. So that's another thing to look at. But all of that combined tells a really good story about the person that's going into the unit.
You know, they think you get a tenant, you put him in, he pays a rent, and it's not quite that easy, you know. You have to do the background screening, you know, and what do you look for in a background screening? You know, for us, you know, we look at criminal history, we look at their credit report, we do landlord verification, we do employment verification.
But I think if you, on the front end, find the right person in terms of your screening, you reduce your delinquency, and your owner gets paid. That's your ROI right there.
You don't understand, you know, how they can just deceive you. You have to really be able to understand people, know how to ask the right questions, know how to dig deep enough into their background, their experience, so that you can evaluate them properly as to whether or not they really will make a good candidate.